I thought one of the positives, Pete, was on the plane, all the guys have these iPads now. So on the plane, they all had the game on. They were all looking at the game in the back of the plane. And it wasn't, the loud music or whatever you can perceive to be that goes on in the back of the plane. This was focused on trying to get better and looking at it, curious to see, what went wrong. And so I can handle that. That normally tells you got a pretty strong locker room. And we need that right now.
LeVar Arrington, those Chiefs with those crazy iPads, you buying that the Chiefs' strong locker room can turn this season around?
Listen, any strong locker room can have a profound impact on where you're going and where you're going to end up during the course of a season. So with that, I'll agree with Andy Reid on the idea that a strong locker room can make the change and be the difference in your season. We're not too far away where they can't climb back into what it is that I guess right now, is it a wild card race, or are you still trying to fight for the division? Maybe they're even trying to still fight for a divisional berth and crown during the course of this season. The biggest problem I have and the biggest concern that I'm looking at right now is, even though you have guys that are aware that they're struggling, and you have the locker room which says that you have the leadership to turn around what's going on, if you had that leadership now to change things moving forward, then that means that leadership was there before you got to this moment in time where you needed to make that observation that you have the leadership to go forward. Now, that might have went over a couple people's heads, but let me bring it back to you. That means if you have the locker room to be able to climb out of this, then doesn't that mean you should have had the locker room to not allow you to get to this? And so, to me, the biggest concern is, even though you may have the leadership in that locker room and you may have the guys in the locker room that have proven that they could be guys, they may not be able to change this just based off of leadership of your players. You might have to change philosophically what you're doing, because your defense is failing, your offense seems to have been figured out, and it's not leading to good results. And that has to be the major concern right now.
So, listen, there's no defending the performance on Sunday, and LeVar is obviously correct that the leaders, it's not like they just got an infusion of leadership. It's the same personnel in the locker room. I reject the idea the offense has been figured out. Even with Sunday's performance, they are a top 5 offense in every significant per drive or per play category. So Sunday was terrible in all accounts, but over the course of the season, the offense is still gaining first downs at a higher rate than any team in the league, successful on third downs at a higher rate than any team in the league. The problem is twofold, and it's massive. The defense is a dumpster fire, and Mahomes has gone from a very low turnover quarterback to a shockingly high turnover quarterback. But Wilds, I want to throw something to you here, because I think the fact that we are asking this question answers this question. Because there is a reason that despite being 3-4, despite right now being out of the playoff race, that the Chiefs, not just on this show because I'm on it, on every show, are still one of the lead topics of conversation. Or because of the preseason expectations? No, because Seattle, Wilds' preseason Super Bowl pick, by the way, America, is 2-5, and they have been forgotten about.
Oh, wow.
The Niners, who had a lot of preseason hype, are 2 wins and have been forgotten about. The reason the Chiefs are still a top-level topic is because deep down, and this is what I want to throw to you, even the biggest Chiefs critic, of which I think Kevin Wilds has become, number 1 in America, deep down there is the sense if they get this right, they're scary. So I'm just curious, do you believe that it can be turned around, or should we dispatch of the Chiefs the way we have dispatched of your beloved Seahawks as an irrelevant team for the remainder of this football season?
Okay,
No,
you
I'm
try to take shots at the prognosticator of prognosticators just because I'm 3 for 3 in my upset alert. Stay tuned, everybody, for Friday. I'll turn this into a tease where I've got a spicy take for you on upsets. So, yeah, I picked the Seahawks. Go Badgers, Russell Wilson. Yes, I do think the Chiefs can turn it around. At the same time, did I click on an article that said Mike Tyson might fight Logan Paul? I did. But you know why? I'm always interested in the formerly great players. I'm like, ooh, I'll watch that. So, yes, I do think, Broussard, the Chiefs, they are, but the Chiefs can turn around. The other thing I'm interested in the Chiefs is the mystery around what's happening to them. That's why I think it's so drama-filled. If we talk about, like, why my poor Seahawks aren't playing well, the defense stinks and Russ is out of the game. If we talked about why the Patriots, America's favorite dynasty, we missed a field goal against Tom Brady and had a lot of penalties, but Mac Jones, and we have a rookie quarterback, is getting better. I don't understand what Patrick Mahomes is doing, and I don't think anyone does. Is he pressing? Are guys not open? Does he feel like he needs to have the 14-point play? The fact that the baby goat, and I think, like, we were joking around calling him the baby goat, but I think everyone thought that, like, Tom Brady is here and then Patrick Mahomes is right there, has fallen so far is a fascinating story. And I haven't heard the single answer to why Patrick Mahomes' play has fallen so far, Broussard. That's why I think they're interesting.
I said it. I gave you an answer. But go ahead, Broussard.
Go ahead.
What is it?
Go ahead, LeVar.
Oh, okay.
No, go ahead, Broussard.
go
I
ahead,
gave you
LeVar.
guys the answer.
Want to hear more? No.
Well, I mean, look, Nick rejected it, but, I mean, just because you rejected it, Nick, doesn't mean that it isn't truth. There has been a level of understanding as to how to defense this offense. And it came out of the Super Bowl of last season, and it has continued on. You don't dominate a team the way that Tennessee dominated them by accident. That's not by happenstance. What are we looking at? Are we going to say it's injuries? Do you realize that this team was literally almost blanked? They were blanked in the first half, score in the third quarter, don't score again. That's figured out. That's figured out. And to me, Either, and this is something I went against Andy Reid for the duration of my career. So I have a very firm understanding of who he is and how his personnel is used and how they prepare for games. He does the same stuff with tremendously large amounts of different ways of getting to doing the same things. If you guys go to one of our prior shows back heading into the Super Bowl, I pointed it out to you guys. His new thing is he wants to get Tyreek Hill and Kelsey in the center of the field, in between the numbers, all the way to the center of where inside of the hash marks. Those are the sweet spots that he wants to hit. And whether it's by gaining time from Mahomes, moving around, whether it's by moving the defense around with fast plays to the outside, running the ball, or quick screens so that you can get the defense moving out instead of converging in. He's opening it up for the windows to be in the center of the field. And if you think that these defensive coordinators haven't got a tab on that and are saying, listen, here are the things we got to do. These are the tendencies that they're showing. And no matter what it is that they do to try to confuse us, understand that this is where they're trying to go. And I think that's what defenses are doing this year.
Okay, but then it's not working, though. Because you said I rejected it. The reason wait a second.
Working.
The reason I rejected it is prior to the Titans game, the Chiefs were the #1 scoring offense per drive and per play in the league. After the Titans game, built into it, that terrible performance, they are still top 5 in everything offensively. Rushing efficiency, passing efficiency, points per drive, all of it, third down conversions. So the idea that the offense has been figured out, I don't think there's evidence of it whatsoever. Now, they are turning the ball over at an absurd rate, but almost to Wilds' point, when you look at the turnovers, it's not like bad reads. It's a combination of 4 of the interceptions have hit receivers in the hands. That's not anyone figuring something out. And 3 of them have been just indefensible bad decisions by Mahomes while being tackled, trying to throw it up for grabs. So I don't think there's evidence, Broussard, that the offense has been solved. I think it is more so even a bigger indictment on the defense that with the offense scoring at the rate it had been scoring, they still were struggling the way they were.
Well, look, I'm still a believer in the Chiefs, Nick, like you are. In fact, maybe more so. You were in panic mode yesterday. I was just disquieted. So I still believe they can turn it around. All right. But there is evidence that they figured something out against the Chiefs because they only had 3 points the last game. That's the lowest amount of points they've scored since Andy Reid has been in Kansas City. Obviously, it was Pat Mahomes' worst game. You're right. A lot of the turnovers and Mahomes, some of his poor decisions are self-inflicted. But they figured something out. We know cover 2, don't blitz, so you can keep so many guys back in the defensive backfield that you can cover the receivers. I want to throw this back at LeVar for a quick answer, though. You said they figured out Andy Reid and what he's trying to do. That's different than they figured out Pat Mahomes. Now, which one is it? Is it just they figured out Andy Reid? Is it that they figured out Pat Mahomes? And at least for a while, he's not going to be the quarterback we've come to know Patrick Mahomes to be.
Well, think about it. They could have easily lost that Cleveland game, right? They pull out that Cleveland game. There's really only been maybe 1 to 2 games that they won that you say, okay, they won that game. And again, we can say they figured out Andy Reid or they figured out Patrick Mahomes or didn't figure out one or the other. But the bottom line is